Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome to the last day of the Congress and this particular session on the transformative journey of knowledge from need to impact in WOPs. We are delighted to have you all here and enjoy a rich pool of practitioners who are ready to share very interesting experiences. My name is María Pascual. I'm a project management officer at GWOPA. And I would just like to highlight before we start a few housekeeping rules and guidance for the audience, speakers, any participant. As you can see in your screens, you will see a chat on the right-hand side of the screen. You are, of course, very welcome to include your messages, questions there. If it is the first time that you are signing in, if you are entering, then please sign in with your email or your social media so that we can see who is posing the questions. Otherwise, if you enter as guest, we will not know who you are. But of course, you are equally welcome to pose any question. If in the course of the discussion later on in the session, you would also like to speak and enter the speaker's room, please, you just have to click on the wish to speak button and we will let you enter so that you can also raise your voice and participate in the discussion. We have simultaneous translation, English, French, Spanish, and you will find that in the upper part of the right hand side of the screen. If you turn on the translation, please bear in mind that you will have to reduce the volume on the main screen. And that's relatively easy to find. You will find it on the left-hand side of the screen. You reduce the volume of the current speaker so that you can hear the translators. And without further ado, I am going to hand over to our moderator for this part, for this first part of the session. She's Giuliana Ferrero. Giuliana has been moderating other sessions with us, and it's really great to have you here, Giuliana. Giuliana has over 15 years of experience in the water and sanitation and hygiene sector, with a lot of international experience in many countries. And she's an associate professor at IHE Delft until only recently, and now she's transitioned into freelancing consulting while keeping the visiting associate professor at IHE position. We are delighted to have you here, Giuliana. Thanks a lot, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for the invitation for moderating this session. It's great to be here, and I think that today is going to be a very informative session on knowledge transfer. This session is great for all of us that have been included. I've been working for years in capacity development, but it's also good for people that are being working in the WASH sector at large, because capacity development is present actually everywhere. So today we will zero in a little bit more on the aspects of and nuances of knowledge sharing in capacity building. And we will do so by looking at different working areas that range from climate change, non-revenue water, leadership, or asset management. So we will learn how knowledge transfer evolves from the initial stages of a partnership and how it consolidates when the partnership is really more mature. So we will also hear about the influence of different factors on knowledge transfer. So what is, for example, the influence of staff turnover or management buy-in on the knowledge transfer that we're experiencing? The program today is really packed and dense with a lot of experiences from the field. And without further ado, I will move on into presenting to you the agenda for the session of today. So the agenda will be divided into 3 blocks. An introductory part in which, let me share my screen. I was just...
We can see it, Giuliana.
Okay, thank you, Maria. So I was saying an introductory part in which we will have 2 presentations to set the scene. This session is very interesting because we have a lot of content coming from Vitas e Vitas International, and especially the session is co-convened by VEI with focus on the Waterworks program. So we will start with an introduction to the Waterworks program given by Ms. Anke Verhey, which is the Waterworks program coordinator at Vitas e Vitas International. She has experience in Asia and Africa in the fields of integrated water resources management, urban drinking water supply, and governance. And Anke has been involved in WOPs for about 5 years. Then we will go on into the theory of knowledge exchange in capacity development and specifically in WOPs. And we will have a presentation by Ms. María Pascual, which is a program officer at GWOPA. I'm sure that you have seen her in previous sessions, but just in case this is the first session you're joining, Maria holds an MSc in Water Services Management and an MBA, and she has 14 years experience working in WOPs. She is responsible for the strategic area of knowledge management at GWOPA, and she will guide us through the brief introduction to peer-to-peer knowledge consolidation into change process in WOPs. Then we will move on with the first block of experiences from the fields, in which our practitioners will reflect on the knowledge consolidation journey. So the first block that I will be moderating, the first presentation will zero in on climate change in Rwanda specifically, and will be given by Dr. Mireille Tutu-Saus and Dr. Francois Xavier and Shimi Yimana. The next presentation will be given by Mr. Karl Kamsta on leadership in a WOP in the Philippines. And the third presentation will be given by Mr. Dharma Ratna Chitrakar on borehole drilling in Nepal. And Mr. Dharma will be supported by Mr. Andrew Smith of Anglian Water. Then we will move on to the second block. And the second block will be moderated by Ms. Anke Verhey. And again, we will have three presentations from practitioners. The first one on asset management in Uganda, where our speakers will be Mr. Martin Neisse and Mr. Bernard Mwaka. The second presentation will be zeroing on low-income communities in Kenya, and the presenter will be Ms. Zaituni Kanenje. And the last presentation on non-revenue water reduction in Tanzania will be given by Mr. Reinder van den Brink, Mr. Tumai Msaki, and Mr. Reintjan de Blois. So now, moving on with our program, I will invite Anke to start with their presentation, so introducing the Waterworks program to all of us. Anke, the floor is yours.
Please, I have some difficulty sharing my screen, but I'm working on it.
I can share it for you in case it will not work. So apologies in the meantime while Anke is trying to load her presentation. Another remark. We have really tight schedule, but a lot of questions. So I invite, as Maria said, all the audience to post the questions in the chat, and then we will pick them up in due course. Thank you. So Anke, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'll be giving you a brief introduction into the Waterworks program today. What is Waterworks? Waterworks is a long-term program running from 2016 until 2030. It's a water operator partnership program, Dutch water utilities, the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and around 39 utilities in selected cities in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The program have two main goals. On the one hand, performance improvement of water utilities in selected cities in Africa, Asia, and Latin America in the context of urbanization and climate change. On the other hand, The main goal is to provide sustainable, inclusive, and climate resilient water services, basic or safely managed, to the current customers of the partner utilities and to an additional 10 million people by 2030. How do we do this? Well, through long-term water operator partnerships, working on operational performance through smart investments, to staff and organizational capacity development, peer-to-peer, in performance areas across all working processes. We're working on mobilizing finance for infrastructure to be able to reach this goal of 10 million people. And what is very important is that we're also working on the enabling environment to sustain results. In the second phase of the program, 20 WOPs have been selected in more than 40 utilities in 16 different countries. So I just told you about the second phase. Well, that's because the WaterWorks program includes 3 different phases. We are now at the end of the first phase, which was the main team getting the basics right. So this started in the beginning of 2017 and is ending at the end of this year. And we aim to start the second phase of the program at the beginning of next year, where the main theme is acceleration and stepping up maturity. Then the third phase will focus on institutionalization and resilience. At the top, you also see the goal of reaching 10 million people, while at the end of the first phase, we will have reached 1.45 million people. And at the end of the second phase, we aim to reach 5 million people. So the objective of phase 2, stepping up maturity. We are introducing a new performance assessment framework that provides guidance to stepwise improvement in the maturity levels of utility working processes. Here you can see a spider diagram focusing on all these different working processes. So for each of the partner utilities, we are doing an assessment of these 12 main working processes, and based on that, we are selecting several sub-processes to be working on and monitoring on this. Then the target is to reach an additional 3.5 million people towards the 10 million target, of which more than 25% are living in low-income areas. We aim to continue the direct investments in basic services. Also, we want to establish an operational fund for business case-based small investments, and we're looking for fund leveraging options. Then we're also aiming to intensify the lobby for investment funding. We've currently developed around 48 investment proposals, of which 5 are now being financed. And we want to further enhance these proposals and lobby to make sure that the investment proposals that are there will be funded. And there are several supporting activities. As I said, the enabling environment is very important for the sustainability of the results. So we're working on policies, regulation, tariffs, etc. Also, we are focusing on Southern leadership. Some of our mentee partners have been a mentee for quite a long time, and they are evolving into a mentor organization, also supporting several mentees in their country or in their region. We also want to mix Dutch short-term experts and local expertise more, so also using local short-term experts. And then knowledge management is key. In the first phase of WaterWorks, we had 9 communities of practice. We aim to grow these communities of practice with more teams, with more people from the partner utilities as well. Then we want to focus on regional trainings and mobilize young experts. If you have any questions about the program, please feel free to contact me. And now I'd like to continue to Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Anke, for the introduction of the program. It's very interesting to see the magnitude of this program is very large indeed. And we will have today, I assume, 3 presentations that will be under the umbrella of the WaterWorks program, and we will remark it to the audience when we will call our speakers up. So thank you so much. I will now invite Maria to start sharing her presentation and to to continue introducing us to the theory behind knowledge transfer in capacity development.
Thank you so much. Is the presentation visible, Giuliana?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. And thanks, Anke, for the nice presentation of Waterworks. It's quite impressive and inspiring. My intervention today here is just an effort to set the scene or the guiding framework that we've tried to use to align the work of 6 different projects, looking into 6 different working areas, on the areas of on the focus put on the peer-to-peer knowledge transfer that happens throughout the projects. This is not the common, let's say, way of presenting normally the work achieved, but with this session, what we would like to emphasize is how peers work together, what are the obstacles that they found on the way, how do they address them, etc. So what's clear is that the WOPs are a particular way, a particular approach to address enhanced capacity in order to provide sustained performance of services. But what's very little known, or what doesn't come so visible generally in a lot of the sessions or in most of the sessions, is how do peers work together. So that part is what we would like to create visibility in this session. What we've done in order to create that visibility, or what we tried, is to provide a guiding theoretical framework for all the speakers to be trying to illustrate where are they at in the knowledge transfer process. There are many different frameworks. We just picked one that we thought it was simple enough to guide the process and to illustrate all these details. So I'm just going to elaborate here a little bit on the framework so that everyone can understand and position the different projects in it. So we depart in WOPs, we depart from a starting commitment and intention of partners to work together, and the identification of working processes, working areas that the WOP project targets for improvement. So that's where you can see there, start working on this working area. That's the beginning of it, okay? Each working processes will have different rhythms. So at the beginning, well, both are committed, but no more has done so far. Now, they go through what we call here in this framework, initiation stage. What does that mean? What does that entail? In that stage of initiation, both partners go through together through getting a more mutual understanding of what are the needs and an agreement into what is the best course of action based on the needs and priorities of the what utility. What that, of course, is the first stage, and then it goes until once the partners share a common understanding and an agreed course of action, that will be the end of the initiation stage. I think all the projects that we have today have gone through that stage successfully, and they've now moved on into other stages. Although I would argue, and I think probably it comes also in the discussion, that that stage never ends. No, there is always identifying new needs and course of actions. But just to have a bit of a guidance, I think we will leave it like that. So initiation goes until partners share a common understanding what's needed and what's the course of action. Then the next stage starts with what's called initial implementation. Now, both partners work together in trying to create the conditions for change. So they know where they want to reach, but now the conditions have to be created. Now, what does that mean? That means trainings, shared development of equipment, of tools, discussions, modification of standard working operating procedures. This stage entails a lot of interaction between partners generally. Of course, there is always, or generally in WOPs, the transfer, temporary or not temporary, transfer of personnel to the project site to guide this transition, to support the knowledge transfer process. So a lot of interaction happens at this stage. And then you could argue that, and the guiding framework is stating that, okay, well, initial implementation ends once new knowledge created through the project by both partners is now being used, okay? Now the next stage is the tricky one, and it's I think when the things become a bit more challenging, and that's one in which it's called the ramp up, and it's solving unexpected problems in the use of new knowledge for it to lead to the expected improved working routines. This is, of course, a long stage. It can take different lengths depending on the project and on many different factors. But here, the knowledge transfer theory, and of course, this particular author, Sulansky, who developed this framework, says and emphasizes that anomalies and obstacles are really to be taken as business as usual. They are not an anomaly. They are standard in the knowledge transfer process, in the knowledge creation processes, and in change processes. So the ramp-up phase will illustrate, probably in different projects, what are the main obstacles that we are finding along the way in order to reach those improved well-working routines. And the final stage is the integration, where, yes, whenever we have a well-working routine, and has been achieved and it's working, the tendency in many occasions is to, for many different reasons, is to revert back to the old routines. And that integration stage is what comprises the efforts from both partners, but especially the mentee, the local partner, to really accommodate that new working routine with the supporting commitment from management, with structures, with good monitoring that could reemphasize how the new working procedure is actually established and well embedded within the day-to-day of the organization. So those are a summary of the key stages that we will be looking into in each of the projects. We have today 6 WOP cases, as Giuliana already mentioned, and 6 different working processes. And we can see that we have a few of them, 3 of them are in the ramp-up stage, and 3 of them are in the integration stage. I won't go into details into which one, and we'll hear that from the speakers later on. And with this, I would like to give back the floor for the moderation to start with the interesting cases. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Maria. It's interesting to see, how our practitioners actually work through these 4 stages of knowledge transfer in the practice. And actually, we can argue that, as Maria said, the knowledge transfer is not linear, but it's more rather a cycle, not that we go back and we have different processes moving at different levels and speed simultaneously. So right now, I would like to move on and then start up with the first presentation of the first block. So the presenters are Dr. Mireia Tutusaus of A and François Xavier Mshiminimana of WASAC. Okay, I see that they are loading their presentation. Meantime, I'll just guide you through some facts about their bios and the WOPs that they're involved in. So Mireia holds a master's degree in water management from IHE Delft and a PhD from the University of Amsterdam. Currently, she's stationed in Rwanda, working in a WOP with WASAC. She guides the partnership activities in relation to change management and the scaling up of project outputs. François holds an MSc in Water Resources and Environmental Sanitation and a PhD in Environmental and Life Sciences. He's the head of research and development at WASAC, and he combines this work with the position of university lecturer. Some information about the WOP. The partners involved are WASAC and the Ministry of Infrastructure, WaterAid Rwanda, and VEI. This WOP is co-financed by the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, or RVO, which for the non-Dutch here today is an executive body of the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Policy, and is also co-financed by all partners involved in the WOP. It started in 2019 and will run up to 2024. The main focus areas are increased service delivery and operations, which includes non-revenue water, water quality monitoring, and prepaid dispensers, and also increased data-driven operations. This includes water safety planning, benchmarking, and climate change resilient water supply. The selected working area for this presentation is climate resilient water supply system, and the focus will be from 2021 up to 2023. So Mireia and François, the floor is yours.
Juliana, can you hear us and can you see our screen?
Yes, both very well.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Mireia Tuzaus, and I'm here with Francois, and maybe if he will move when he talks to this screen. But as Maria already indicated, we think that we have covered the first two stages, and we are in the first early days of the ramp-up phase. I will present the first stage, the initiation. I think so. As Giuliana explained, it's a rather recent project that we have initiated with in Rwanda with WASAC. I think during this stage, what happens was that they, as lead partner in the WOP and holding, let's say, the contractual obligations towards the main funder, took the initiative in defining, translating what we had promised to do in the proposal before winning this proposal and this project into actual practice, what it means for WASAC and for the project. I don't want to say that we had not. I think nobody around the table when we started this project was a climate change denier. We were certainly not, but we had a bit of an issue in figuring out what it really meant, climate change for operations within WASAC. So we spent a lot of time creating that awareness or common understanding in that we understood each other and we were talking the same language. I think that's where we have spent a lot of the time. And then also translating the objectives from the proposal, because we initially had promised at the proposal stage that we were going to develop actual investment plans. When the project started, WASAC had already initiated a consultancy with external constructing company where they were going to develop these investment plans. So there was not a lot of work for us to do there. But so we together we try to figure out what is it that we can do that makes sense for our colleagues that are actually evaluating these investment plans or actually having to approve this type of work. I think that's what I can say for the initiation. And you want to move here? Yeah. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can. You have to move closer. Okay. Oh yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Merci, Maria.
Yep.
Sorry, there's a lot of echo going on.
It's okay now?
C'est bon maintenant?
Okay, thank you very much. I thank my colleague Mayor here and you, everyone.
Remercie ma collègue Mireia.
But please allow me to present, I mean, just talk on this presentation shortly, but in French, if you don't mind.
Partie en français, si cela ne vous dérange pas.
Ok. Merci beaucoup. En fait, je me sens beaucoup plus, c'est-à-dire beaucoup plus confortable en fait de parler en français. Ce disait Mireia, en fait, ce que nous avons fait, c'est une sorte d'initiation en fait de ce projet, parce que comme l'exige en fait la loi au Rwanda, tous les projets doivent avoir cette partie en fait de changement climatique et comment en fait résoudre tous les problèmes qui sont liés à cela. Mais malheureusement en fait, on ne comprend pas vraiment exactement comment les autres, en fait, on se limite beaucoup plus sur, sur les, comment on appelle, IAI, c'est-à-dire les impacts d'environnement, assainissement environnemental, tout ça, plutôt.
François, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Sorry.
Vous m'entendez, François? Vous pouvez arrêter le player de traduction.
Can you hear us?
Yes, now it's good. I
Is
think
better?
it's best if you
Sorry.
present only from that laptop, please.
Okay. Am I muted? No. They can hear us.
Alors,
Yes.
c'est bon comme ça? I got,
Yeah, wait. Oh man.
Désolé pour ce désagrément. Alors, comme je disais tout à l'heure, justement, comme elle a expliqué ma collègue Myria, en fait, nous avons fait notre possible pour pouvoir en fait, introduire ce projet, c'est-à-dire voir en quoi en fait, le changement climatique peut contribuer, surtout sur le projet de WASAC. Alors, auparavant, ce que nous avons fait, c'était juste pour pouvoir mettre tout le monde dans le bain, et surtout essayer d'ailleurs de connecter sur ce projet même d'autres institutions à travers WASAC. Et alors, après, ce que nous avons fait, en fait, comme elle l'a dit, c'était juste d'identifier en fait, les personnes surtout concernées. Et en plus de cela, en fait, ce que nous avons fait là maintenant, c'était juste voir, identifier les personnes qui sont en fait des personnes clés qui pourront nous aider en fait à pouvoir y arriver. Alors c'est pour ça qu'en fait nous avons essayé de voir ces personnes qui ont des responsabilités ou qui ont des profils en fait qui correspondent au changement climatique. Alors du coup nous avons formé une équipe de 15 ou plus, 20 personnes à peu près. Et du coup, nous avons eu en fait la chance de rencontrer Myria, je dirais, parce qu'elle nous a aidé à nous connecter avec Veille et les experts Veille. Et surtout, c'est eux qui ont financé côté, enfin, c'est-à-dire côté financier, c'est eux qui ont beaucoup plus intervenu. Et du coup, nous avons vraiment eu, c'est-à-dire une connaissance assez importante. Nous avons passé à peu près 3 semaines avec 2 jours par semaine, en fait, avec ces experts. Et les personnes qui ont reçu cette formation étaient vraiment très contents parce que ça correspondait surtout avec les profils. Et en dernier, nous avons eu une formation et une correspondance avec des personnes et des experts sur le modèle, en fait, d'analyser les impacts sur les infrastructures dus surtout au changement climatique. Mais en même temps, nous avons toujours un long chemin en fait, à parcourir parce qu'il y a un manque de données. Vous savez, surtout quand on parle de modèles, on a besoin beaucoup plus de données pour pouvoir faire cette projection. Alors, il y a toujours un manque. Et en même temps, justement, nous avons besoin surtout d'une coordination aussi solide, surtout pas seulement au niveau de WASAC, mais avec aussi des autres institutions externes. Mais cela, en fait, demande surtout l'engagement, non seulement de notre part, mais de la part des hauts fonctionnaires, je dirais, des hautes autorités, c'est-à-dire le senior management.
1 more minute.
Pardon? Sorry. Alors, du coup, pour le moment, en fait, ce que nous avons fait, c'est-à-dire la connaissance venant de cette formation, nous essayons en fait de l'intégrer surtout sur les projets qui sont en cours, en particulier le master plan, parce que je suis en fait le porte de ce projet surtout, mais aussi nous essayons en fait de créer une sorte de task force sur le climate change, afin de pouvoir en fait intégrer surtout matière en fait, au niveau des projets de WASAC. Et en plus, aussi convaincre en fait, le senior management, surtout sur le modèle dont nous avons travaillé dessus la dernière fois, sur le modèle en fait, de la gestion des impacts au niveau des infrastructures de WASAC. Alors, il reste toujours le problème du fait que c'est un terrorisme, on n'a pas encore mis en pratique, c'est un problème, mais aussi nous n'avons pas, dans le projet au niveau de WASAC, nous n'avons pas en fait des stratégies claires en fait sur en fait, la mise en évidence en fait des effets ou des impacts de climate change. Alors, ce qui reste, l'intégration, je pense que en fait, nous avons la volonté, nous avons en fait l'envie que cela se fasse. Je pense que ça reste beaucoup à faire. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Mireille and Francois. It's very interesting to hear about your experiences, despite some technical issues that we had. I would like to invite the audience in posting the questions, if any, that you may have for our speakers. In the meantime, I do have.
Sorry, Giuliana. There is a lot of echo. I think maybe the mic from Miri needs to be unmuted.
Yeah.
Muted or unmuted?
No, like this it works fine. At least right now I'm not hearing any echo. I think it's when you use the double PC there.
No. We're muted.
Okay. So the first question that I have is, well, I do have two questions, one for Mireille and one for Francois. They're very brief. But in the initial phase, Mireille, you mentioned that there was the need of creating awareness about climate change because it was not one of the priorities for the company. So how did you do that? At which levels also did you try to create awareness? And mostly, how did you know that awareness was created in the end?
Thank you, Giuliana, for the question. If Francois wants to contribute, please do.
The mic, Miri.
Oh, but
no, I can hear you.
I'm unmuted.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
unmuted.
fine.
Okay,
Merci beaucoup.
So, okay. So, what I wanted to say, so where we created the awareness, I think that first we started with the operational people. So just to really document what do you think is climate change and something that we are experiencing today. Can we call that impacts of climate change related hazards? So we started at the operational level, and then with that information also, and with a little bit more of a consensuated agreement at the operational level, we went together to senior management, to CEO and the other senior managers, and we just explained this is what we are experiencing on the day-to-day. This is what we think we are going to experience in the future, and we need your support. And this is our proposal to go ahead. That's how we did, I think, in activities. How do we know that we created the awareness? I think that's the fact that management approved and allocated and allowed people to dedicate time to this is for us a sign that there is this awareness is created, we think.
Et autre chose, c'est que justement, ce n'est pas seulement les staffs de WASAC, mais nous avons en fait essayé d'amener à bord d'autres institutions en fait, surtout concernées, en particulier en fait ce qui dire tous les jours en fait avec l'environnement, en fait, ce qui sont les données environnementales et surtout pour les météos, c'est-à-dire une institution en fait qui se charge de la précipitation et tout cela. Et je pense en fait que c'est important parce que en collaborant avec eux, en fait, ce sera une occasion en fait de former cette équipe, surtout conjoint, qui permettra en fait de résoudre beaucoup plus de problèmes liés à cela. Ouais.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mireille and Francois. I do have a lot of questions more, but in the interest of time, I apologize, I have to move on. If there will be more time, we go back to you later on after the end of the first block presentations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the next speaker that we have is Mr. Carl Kamstra. He has been working for Vitens Evidence International since 2008 and is currently the project manager of a project that focuses on performance enhancement of water utilities in the Philippines. So the WOP that he will be presenting is composed by VEI and utilities from 4 water districts on the islands of Cebu and Negros in the Philippines. This WOP is implemented in the framework of the Waterworks program. It started in 2018 and most likely it will run up to 2030. The main focus area of this WOP are the improvement of managerial, operational, and financial capacity of the Mentee organizations and creating an enabling environment for climate-resilient water supplies. Carl will focus his presentation on the operational area of leadership. So, Carl, the floor is yours. You can share your presentation and start. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Giuliana. I hope you hear me. I hear myself in the microphone, so I'll take my earbuds out. So my name is Karel Kamstra, project manager of the PWOP project. It's an abbreviation of Performance Enhancement Water Utilities in the Philippines. And the partners are Bayawan Water District, Bogo Water District, Cacao Water District, Toledo City Water District, and the Philippine Association of Water Districts, all in the Philippines, of course. We started in January 2018, and of course, because of the water, it's a waterworks project. The planned end date is December 2030. The main focus areas of the project are an improvement of the managerial, operational, and financial capacity of the Mentee organizations, and creating an enabling environment for climate-resilient water supply in the Philippines. What I would like to share now is our working area leadership. We started working on this this area in August 2018, and still working on it. So our project is actually already in the integration stage of the implementation of this area, and I will share some more things about that later. The initiation took place by one of the general managers of our project partners. Initially, the leadership activities were planned in the second year of the WOP, 2019. But we started already in August, and we couldn't find a peer in one of our mentor organizations of VI. So we approached a renowned consultant, Belgian consultant, Herman Wittox, who is one of the founders of the appreciative inquiry method. The implementation took place in a number of stages. The first session was with the 4 general managers of the project partners, and the focus was on the personal roles in change and in leadership. The second session, 1 month later, was a change management with the joint management teams of the project partners, and the focus was there on team building and creating synergy among the Mentee organizations. And the third session took place 1 year later, in September 2019, just before the COVID crisis. And then the integration per partner phase started. We had intensive sessions with the management teams, but also we involved other stakeholders. The main ones were the boards of directors and summits with all the staff of the project partners. And what is not mentioned here is that at this moment we are in the middle of a train-the-trainer session online to prepare the trained people, the trained staff of the Mentee organizations to become a trainer for our future project partners, as the PWOP project will become a nationwide project. We also experienced some difficulties. There's only one slide dedicated to that. 3 out of the 4 project partners started applying the appreciative inquiry method as the leading change management principle. But one of the project partners found the leadership program a little bit too threatening, so we stopped doing that. It resulted also in some some negative side effects, like many staff leaving the company. I would like to, and I need to go back. Sorry, I would like to share a little bit about the appreciative inquiry method to understand why it has been such an impactful program in our project. The main principles of appreciative inquiry are four. The first one is development is the source of change. So instead of management initiating change or telling the people to change, you change with the people. So you involve the stakeholders like boards of directors or your staff. Like the image says, if the egg is broken by an inside force, then life will start. Now, how to reach the inside? That's one of the main principles of the appreciative inquiry method. That the successes from the past are the basis for the future. Or in other words, you learn from mistakes, but you develop from successes. There's a typo here. You develop from successes. If you try to solve problems, you focus mainly on the problems. As an example, a company who wanted to know why 15% of their staff left the company within 1 year, hired some consultants to see why people left, until somebody said, but let's focus on the reason why people stay in this company and build on that. So that's a completely different perspective. Another principle of the appreciative inquiry is that you use storytelling and images. You tell stories about the success to create connection, to create connection among the people, and then you use images, imagination of the future, so that it will develop. And then it goes a bit too fast again. And this is the fourth principle. To change the present, you first have to change the future. So you start from the back, so to say. So if there's a problem, you first go to the past. Instead of defining the problems, you share with each other what were the successes. So you appreciate what is, and then you can start dreaming about your future. And from those dreams, you can define what you want to achieve. You create your vision and mission and develop from there. What happened in our project is that the appreciative inquiry principles are now the core of the leadership practices, with, among others, the following effects. What happened is that there was a quick adaptation of the changes in the WOP. Because it came from the inside, it was a shared vision between the WOP project team and the Mentee organization. The implementing changes was made a lot easier. Also, what happened is that because the water companies, they developed a vision, the Mentee partners were able to define the areas where they needed the support from us much better. Instead of coming with a program and defining what they need to do, so to say, we were able to get the feedback from them, and they more or less defined the future of the activities. What's also happening in the Philippines is that there's a lot of threat from private organizations who want to take over the water utilities. And what usually happens is that the utilities get very scared. But our project partners were now able to cope with that threat. And instead of being afraid, they took the lead and they set the agenda. Also, what happened is a much better connection among stakeholders between, for example, board of directors and management team. They understand each other much better now, instead of being afraid of each other. Management team being afraid of the board of directors because they are in charge, and the board of directors being afraid of the management team because they know much more about the organization. But also the staff is much involved in what is the vision and what are our shared values. So instead of focusing on the what and the how, the management has shared the why to do things, and that meant that the staff really internalized the why and is much more motivated. So that increased the creativity, but also a very quick adaptation to the COVID-19 reality. Working from home, skeletal workforce. People still knew what to do. Water was still supplied, and the people were very motivated to continue because they understand the why. And very important, it takes the focus away from problem solving. But because if you focus on problems only, there's a lot of disadvantages on that. It creates fragmentation. People start blaming each other, and usually, if you focus on problem solving, the problems only become bigger. Some other observations, some last observations. I think it's very important to start with leadership because for us it prepared the way for all the other activities. And in phase 2 of our project, we will have more partners, and that's the first activity that we will do with them. So that will pave the way for the other activities. Instead of addressing the issues with the technical solutions, the management now does that, and they can define where they need our help. And what really happened also is that the mentee organizations took the ownership of the capacity building activities. It resulted in an improved relationship between the mentee and the mentor project teams, except for the one exception that I explained earlier. And we even started a trainer program. So we are preparing for future partners that the mentee organization staff can guide them in this interesting journey. If you should have any questions after my presentation, here's my email address. And if you are interested in the appreciative inquiry method, I also shared here the email address of one of the founders of appreciative inquiry method, Herman Wittox. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Carl. It was a very interesting presentation and also interesting to learn about this method and its application in the WOP realm. So we do have a question from Maria, actually. So the question is, how did partners come to prioritize leadership in the WOP project? Was it a mentor-led activity or a mentee-led activity? How did it come to the play?
Well, what actually happened, sorry, I hear an echo in my ear. What happened is that we planned leadership, but more or less a traditional leadership interventions like more management issues. But one of the mentee partners, they said, I want to have it earlier, on an earlier stage. So that's they initiated this, and then we were very happy to be able to apply the appreciative inquiry method, which was not planned, but was in fact luck.
Thank you, Carl. I do have another question because it was very interesting that you experienced high staff turnover at managerial level. So my question is, how heavy is the weight of staff turnover in capacity building? So how much is the setback that poses into the trajectory that you do have in knowledge transfer?
There is a lot of echo in my earbuds, so I didn't hear the question very well from you, Giuliana.
It was about the effect of staff turnover.
Yeah.
So the effect of staff turnover on capacity building. So how much is the setback that poses to the capacity building activity and knowledge transfer? Carl, you need to unmute yourself. Carl, you need to unmute yourself. We cannot hear you. You have the mute button. You're still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now? I'm having big troubles with my sound quality. I cannot hear.
Okay, but Carl, we can maybe just park this question for now and discuss it later on with other speakers. So thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you also for keeping at it despite the technical challenges. So I would like now to go on with the third and last presenter of this first block. So the third presenter is Mr. Dharmaratna Chitrakar. He's the technical manager at WaterAid Nepal, and he holds a graduate degree in civil engineering and a master's degree in environmental engineering. He has over 10 years of experience related to the design of water systems, promoting water safety plans, and rainwater harvesting and groundwater recharge. He will be presenting some lessons learned from the Beacon project, a long-term partnership between the UK water company Anglian Water and its alliances, WaterAid Nepal, Nepal Water Supply Corporation, the Ministry of Water Supply, and Lahan Municipality. The project started in 2016, and the focus area of the project are water security, safe water and sanitation, and fecal sludge management. Dharma will be supported in his presentation, which focuses on borehole drilling, by Mr. Andrew Smith of Anglian Water. So Dharma and Andrew, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So hello everybody, I'm Andy Smith. I'm the Smart Water Strategy Manager at Anglian Water, based in the UK. I've worked in the water industry both in the UK and in other countries across the world for over 35 years now. My main focus has been around network management, NRW reduction, and also have quite a lot of experience working on intermittent supply systems. As I mentioned yesterday, I also have the pleasure of leading the water distribution work stream on the Beacon project. And today with my colleague and friend Dharmaratna Chitrakar from WaterAid Nepal, we'll be sharing the work that we've been doing in Nepal and the learning from the Beacon project, specifically around borehole construction. So Dharma, would you like to move us on to the next slide? So as you can see, we're going to have a brief outline and introduction from ourselves, and then Dharma will go into the technical aspects of the work that we've been doing around the groundwater situation in Lahan, the steps we've taken, how collaboration has been very important to this part of our project, the impact that it's had, the ongoing challenges that we still face, and then the lessons learned. So if we could go to the next slide, Dharma. So Lahan is situated in the southeast of Nepal, very close to the border with India. It's the largest municipality within the Sirahar district and has a population of 91,766. Now that is based on the 2011 census. However, since that census was taken, population growth and the demand for water have increased significantly. Lahan consists of 24 wards, with wards 1 to 10 being very urban and 11 to 24 being
Apologies, Andy. I'm sorry to stop you, but nobody can see the slides. So I would kindly ask to Dharma to stop sharing the screen and then start sharing the screen once again.
Okay, no problem.
Should I? Yeah.
Can everyone see the map of Nepal now, yeah?
No. We can
Not me as well, actually. Great. Sorry. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Can everyone see this now?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, great.
Andy,
Sorry.
the floor is yours.
If you want to move down to the map of... Great, thank you, Dharma. So as I was saying, so Lahan municipality consists of 24 wards, wards 1 to 10 being urban and 11 to 24 being rural. So within the 24 wards, there are 51 informal Dalit communities, which have a total population of 21,946 at that time of the census. Those communities don't have access to a sustainable source of safe, clean drinking water. Next slide, please, Dharma. So as it was mentioned, the Beacon project was conceived in 2016, and it's a 15-year water operator partnership between Anglian Water, its alliances and our wider supply chain, WaterAid, local water operators and the government of Nepal. The purpose and the aim of the Beacon project is to ensure that the people of Lahan municipality, including those marginalised communities, vulnerable communities, schools, have sustainable and equitable access to safe water, improved sanitation and hygiene, contributing to their well-being, health and dignity. The project will attempt to establish itself as a municipal model or beacon for improved water supply and sanitation, to shine a light on how a successful and prosperous collaboration can work, and in time becoming a shop window for other municipal towns right across the country of Nepal to replicate and adapt. The Beacon project will contribute to achieving Nepal's Sustainable Development Goal, number 6, for water sanitation and related national sector water plans. And as we talked about, the main focus will be around water security, providing safe, clean drinking water, sanitation with dignity, and sustainable fecal sludge management. I'm now going to pass over to Dharma, who'll share our learnings around creating this sustainable water security piece through an improved construction and management of boreholes. Dharma.
Thank you very much, Andy. With this, actually, I would like to take you through a brief journey from the initiation stage on the groundwater situation in Lahan when in 2017, before the agreement happened in 2018, as the boreholes were the major water sources in Nepal Water Supply Corporation in most of their branches, and Lahan being one of them. So the problem associated in these boreholes were mostly on the technical parts. Basically they were pumping sands, like there were frequent failures, having very lower yield. And these all were creating, the very uncertain 5-hour supply for the NWSC. So as an initiation stage, to find out what the actual need is on this part, we try to understand the situation where many field visits were happened from Anglian Water, the expert teams, the principal teams, where we try to gather as much information and data available from many sources. Apart from that, we started conducting the technical meetings amongst the stakeholders. And we also try to understand the construction methodologies and capacity of the local drillers. And as the quick wins, we started monitoring the water quality and water levels. And these are, after all, like where from the technical support and the donation from Anglian Water, we could bring the downhole camera equipment to Nahan for the first time, and trained all the branch managers across NWSC. So these were the key factor that we could, technological transfer from UK to Nepal, where it could identify the issues that were causing problem. Majorly, the problems identified were on the technical parts, that the screens were not positioned rightly, like there were incorrect gravel packings, the quality controls were not, what were the issues. So during this time, we identified these kind of problems associated, and identified that the need that like that should be taken forward during this water operative partnership. During the implementation stage, actually, by 2019, when we understood and like build a strong relationship with the partners and build the confidence among the prospective organizations, we started developing the technical specification of borehole drilling and the test pumping from the experience from UK hydrogeologists, and also started reviewing the design and suggestions on the screen sizes based on the local geological conditions. Also those technical specifications were adapted to work compatible to Nepal, and also with the joint consultation among England Water, WaterAid, and also the Nepal Water Supply Corporation, we developed the standard terms of reference with which we could identify the very experienced hydrogeologists within the country as well who could support in supervision. And Beacon funded with two demonstrating boreholes where we put down the weightage on the technical criterias and also the health and safety aspects, which has built on bringing the quality drillers. And during the construction phase as well, the systematic borehole drilling procedures were developed through checklists in the joint consultation as well. So after demonstrating and in the initial implementation, we could demonstrate the very good two boreholes and trained to the all the NWSC branch managers. And on the ramp up stage, actually, with these a kind of demonstration that we could successfully achieve, uh, the borehole, was yielding higher than previously, nearly double with no sand ingress. The NWS's dignity was slowly getting risen because of the 5 hours being, converted to 10 hours with the satisfied customers. So with all these positive notes, actually, the confidence over the groundwater was getting started, and the technical standard specification which was initiated in Lahan was well adopted, and the NWSC board has and even the ministry has approved this technical specification, and which would allow the flexibility to adopt local geology, was a rollover all across the country. This was the huge ramp up stage, and also the recognition that Lahan is developing as the technical knowledge hub and recognizing as a center of excellence. If you see the coverage map of NWC in Nepal, it spans all across the country, as you see. And as we are talking about the integration stage, there are still a lot of challenges. Even like the government Nepal's procurement process under 20 million of Nepalese rupees, still the lowest bidder wins the award. There are like a lot of less experienced drillers around, and also the provision of drilling association licensing and centralized database is also a huge lag, which is factoring in like the challenging on institutionalizing these, along with the full-time hydrogeological supervision support, which was funded by Beacon, still like needs to be embedded into the NWS's system. Apart from that, one of the good recognition is that the resources that was input from the Beacon's influences have raised the Ministry of Water Supply and Nepal Water Supply Corporation head office attention to Lahan, and led
1 minute.
to the budget of NWSC Lahan more than doubling over the project period. Yeah. Among which a part of the lesson learned we find is that the supervision services, the supervision, full-time supervision is the very key, and also the downhole camera, the technological transfer among the water office partnership has been well embedded, and like effective tool to showcase the change, and also the demonstration of the successful boreholes leading the dignity of the Nepal Water Supply Corporation has ultimately, in adoption of the new technical specification across the branch. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Dharma and Andy. It was a great presentation, very rich in content of the technical aspects of borehole drilling. Perhaps, one last question that I would like to ask you is building on what I was mentioning before after a presentation of Carl. So how heavy was the effect of staff turnover also in the case of the Beacon project? Did you manage to have a lot of retention of employees that were trained on borehole drilling, or was the staff turnover affecting actually operations there in Nepal?
Thank
Do
you.
you want me to take that, Dharma, or do you want it?
Yeah, Andy, please go on.
So one of the problems we first identified in Lahan wasn't necessarily high staff turnover, but actually lack of capacity. So, I'm not sure what's going on. So one of the issues we suffered from was because of the high levels of NRW and actually collection of revenue, that actually the NWSC couldn't afford to actually employ the right number of people. So as we've been working on NRW and actually increasing supply, more people have connected to the system. That's increased revenue. And the really good thing about that is then NWSC and Lahan have been able to recruit more people. So we're getting away from this vicious circle, and we're moving towards a virtuous circle of development and growth, where more increased revenue means that the local water authority can actually start to increase its capacity and its capability as well.
Thank you so much. I see that there's Maria that has been raising her hand. So Maria, please go ahead. I think this is the last question we can take so far.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Dharma and Andy. Super interesting, the progression in the different stages. I would like to ask you, in the different stages that you just presented, where would you feel that the role of the supporting partner, let's say the mentor, was more critical? And which stages do you think that maybe the intensity of the support could be done maybe through the distance, virtually, etc.? Where do you feel that the presence was really essential?
Go on,
Andy,
Dharma.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Maria. Very good question, actually. So I would say to respond this to question, like maybe both, like both virtual as well as the physical presence, because before the agreement, the entire principal team from Anglian Water, like visited Lahan in physical, and also they were accompanied with the Ministry of Water Supply, the Joint Secretariat, and that has created a kind of the first-hand experience of the ground, and the emotional attachment that it could bring among the overall partnership during the course of building the relationship. And in the due course, like as the Beacon project has its own governing structure, we have the Beacon board in which Anglian WaterAid, and Ministry of Water Supply, Nepal Water Supply Corporation, and Lahan's mayor represents as a whole Beacon board. And at the same time, for the execution, we have the project steering committee, which is chaired by the mayor of Lahan, with most of the stakeholders from the Lahan and also the nearby cities. At the same time, we have the Beacon project team, where like most of the technical leads from Anglian Water leads the specific areas of work stream. For example, in water resources, like we have Chris Delay who leads and in distribution and NRW and Anglian Water, and we have a kind of like a regular meeting. It's a kind of weekly meeting we have, and we communicate more, and this type of scenario has created this enabling environment in overall partnership as well.
Yeah,
Maria.
Thanks so much. I think I'm just going to take advantage, sorry, Giuliana, to voice Ranjan's comment. How often do you interact virtually through the partnership? Is that something that you've intensified with time? What would you be your recommendation at this stage in integration where you're at?
So I'll just to add on what Dharma said. So, since COVID, there's been no in-country visits from anyone from the UK. So what we've done is we've increased the pace of our virtual communications. So as Dharma said, each work stream, so we have one on water resources, we have one on water quality, we have one on distribution, which I have the pleasure of leading. We all meet on a weekly basis with the local people. So it's not just WaterAid Nepal, that's people from NWSC. And actually, I'd say COVID has given us an opportunity to actually communicate in a different way. So we used to visit in country twice a year. But now basically what we've done is we've taken COVID as the opportunity. We meet more regularly. We have project meetings once a month, which are virtual as well. And hopefully as COVID restrictions relax, we can get back to a really good mixture of virtual and physical meetings.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so thank you so much to our presenters. I would like now to conclude this last block just by reading also a comment that I received from Carl in the chat. He had technical issues with his audio, so he mentioned that in his case, at least in the case of the WOP in the Philippines that he was working on, staff turnover was as bad that it hampered the operations in this utility. So by saying that, I would like to thank the speakers and hand over to Anke, that she will be moderating the next phase. And I will be sitting back and just monitoring time. So don't hate me for keeping you straight within the 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to start the second block, including 3 new working areas that we're focusing on. We'll start the presentation on asset management by Bernard Mwaka and Martin Nijssen. Bernard Mwaka is an experienced geoinformatics specialist driven by a passion to design systems that automate workflows and support human life. He takes pride in being the best he can in servicing consumer-related requests as often as possible. He's also been recognized by National Water and Sewage Corporation as an Employee of the Year in the department for his extraordinary commitment to his work. So happy to have you here, Bernard Mwaka, as Senior GIS Officer. We also have Martin Nijssen, who is Project Leader of the Waterworks Water Operator Partnership with National Water in Uganda. Martin Nijssen has over 25 years of experience in the water and wastewater sector. In the past 20 years, his work has focused on sub-Saharan Africa, particularly in South Africa, Ghana, Mozambique, Angola, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Kenya, and Uganda. Now he'll focus his work on Uganda. I see you're already sharing your slides. That's great. Looking forward to your presentation, Martin and Bernard.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you can hear us. We are here in Kampala. Let me move on without further ado. In our water operating partnership, we deliberately chose a particular topic, assets management, mainly because it was seen as a gap still in the development of national water as a whole. And we started with developing a roadmap where we said, what is the real role of the asset manager and asset management within national water? And soon we actually found out that we should focus our efforts together in looking at asset information management systems. So with that focus, we were able to draw this roadmap of where we could have some activities for our plans in these years. And we actually started with quite a few things. I'm now focusing on only one aspect of all the activities we've planned in asset management. And I think we can safely say we are in integration at the moment. You need to get a bit of perspective of where national water is, and particularly Kampala water is, where we actually started with this MapKit application. It is the capital city. It is a big city. It's growing very fast. So networks are expanding and a lot of new connections are being made. And when you look at asset management information, getting that information into your department, Bernard, was an issue. We couldn't get that from the branches. And we thought with this application, we could increase that pace. So how did we initiate this? We actually had 2 things in 2018 that I think were very relevant. We had a benchmarking visit where the asset manager, Frank Bos, was going to the Netherlands together with 2 others and was actually exposed to how the Dutch companies are doing things. and we had experts coming here. And they jointly basically agreed that this application that Vitens is using, MapKit, could actually be of use here as well. But we also agreed to do it bottom up. So Bernard, why did we do it bottom up?
We did it bottom up because we realized that if you're able to convince the end users, which are the people that are actually using the systems, then it's easy to communicate that message to management. Because when management sees results, when management sees efficiency, when management sees improvement in performance, it's easy to convince them with numbers like that. So for us as National Water, the bottom-up approach has actually really worked in that way. Thank you.
Thanks. So what does it do, this application? Well, we focused on 3 parts. The new connection process, that's generating revenue.
Yeah.
Making sure that asset management, the conditions are known, because that's an issue that I think National Water had just spent a couple million on trying to evaluate the value of their assets once again.
Yeah.
And they had to do that every so many years. So doing that continuously was important, but also the network operations, like the leaks and the reports of that. And that's why we started in implementation. And I've just put a few things down that Bernard has set up. As we supported with the payment of the license and development of this Dutch invention into an environment for Uganda.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might be able to explain a bit better on how the users were there in this pilot area. How did you work with the users? How did you engage the people in Bunga and the branch that I can't pronounce?
Yeah. Thank you, Martin. Initially, we had a team from VEI, Francine and Bridget, who came from Vitens, who came and in the initial process did the orientation, taught us how the application works. Then later on with that training, I picked up the knowledge and I began training the different branches and how the application works. And up to now, we still do subsequent trainings to different user groups so that they can understand the different functionalities that MapKit as an application can be used to improve their operations.
Oh, thanks, Bernard. And then we had to ramp up things, and you need to do that by showing results. And I think that was in 2020. We were already getting a bit online more, so you were more active in the booth, and we were at the background. So more and more, I think it became an effort from National Water, Kampala Water particularly. And we had to compare the data from before and after and agree to the benefits before we could go from pilot to adapting it in the whole of Kampala.
Yeah.
So what made them choose to take it? Why did the people in Kampala, all our branches and your department wanted to continue with this?
I think the benefit was obvious. We started seeing improvement in terms of the quality of the data that was coming in and also the quantity of the data that was coming in. And the amount of data that has come in since we started using MapKit has really been huge. It actually helped us realize that we had all this data out there, but no one actually knew that it's there. So that benefit was there, but also the improvement in terms of how long it took for the data to come from the field to us, who are the managers of the data, and also subsequently disseminate that information back to the end users. So that process has also been shortened, so there's a quick turnover between when the data comes back and when it's disseminated back to the end user. So we have also seen that, but also you've seen better accountability. With the application, you can actually, MapKit application, you can actually account for what you're doing. Because before, I mean, you had to call someone and say, hey, how much are you doing? And I mean, anyone can say anything just to look good. But now with the application, when people know that they're accountable for what they do, it improves their output.
We can really measure the performance in data. And I think I can say as well, we were monitoring from our project's point of view. And they say, how far is the percentage of accuracy of your GIS database? And when I came here, everybody was telling me it's 95%. And the more we got data in, we thought maybe it's not 95, it's maybe 90 or 85 or 75. But at least we see it growing to more in it. Well, we have committed to roll out, and we basically are doing more and more in other areas of Kampala, and also now rolling out in other areas outside Kampala, and we're facing some challenges with that. As you can see, we have actually quite a lot of activities planned and delivered in a way, but we have a challenge in doing the same approach outside Kampala as what we've now achieved within Kampala. Why is that?
One of the reasons for the challenges is that the work processes in the other areas outside Kampala is slightly different from what we have in Kampala. But also, I think the willingness from the other users in the other areas of Kampala is they're not so inclined to how Kampala is, because with Kampala, there's a lot of volume of that is coming in. Mm-hmm. So the need to actually have that data processed and actually documented is higher in Kampala. In some of the areas, the infrastructure is less, the customers are less, so
the demand is a bit less for this kind of information system.
The demand is less for that kind of information system too.
Still, I think we are pushing it. We are jointly training the other department and showing them the benefit, but also harmonizing the work processes, which still brings experts from outside in, and we're continuously developing the software. I think the link that we made with the customer relations software, the CRM, linking it now that we are looking at material usage, also is adding additional value to management. That continuous development of the output from such a system, I think, is showing its value, and therefore more and more can be rolled out. To finish this, I think what we concluded is that whatever works in the Netherlands, at least in this kind of thing, can also work in Uganda. It needs only a few adjustments, but a lot actually works. And also the difficulties in data communication between field and office is not something uncommon around the world. So that's where peer-to-peer really works, because we do understand each other. And this visualization and representation of data in a MapKit application or any type of application is something that adds value to a utility in general. And for us, how we work together, work in a pilot report, basically work it out together and improve it whilst we are busy is the way to go. And last but not least, and I think I want to just mention that that's not just here in our WOP. MapKit is a big part of what we are doing. It's an essential part, but it's only a distribution-focused part. We were very interested by the presentation on boreholes. We did a lot of work on that in National Water as well. It's a whole different topic, has its own pace, has its own difficulties, and also in computerized maintenance management from outside, basically the production sites. We've been working on that. So we can do a lot of things in the WOP, but we have to choose our battles. And I think we have a joint battle that we like to fight. Okay, that was it from us.
Thank you, Martin and Bernard. It's a very nice conversation between the two of you. I noticed that Maria wanted to speak. I'm not sure if you have a question, Maria.
Yes, can I ask a question? Yeah. Thanks a lot, Martin and Bernard. Super interesting to see the different stages, and also that the challenge now. No, you implemented in Kampala, and now you want to roll it out in the different branches throughout the country, and then probably you find yourself in those branches at the initiation stage, no, where you're trying to reach to a common understanding of the need, and then the action to the course of action defined with those local branches. My question would go more on the once in Kampala you've trained, as you were explaining in the initial implementation stage, you were training all the staff. What were the challenges that you found in staff adopting these new techniques, these new resources, this new equipment? What were the supporting conditions that you found there for it to go so smoothly, or not? If there were obstacles, I think it would be great to give them a bit visibility here.
You know the obstacles more, right?
Yeah. I think one of the obstacles we had was with the older workforce, that is not so inclined to using technology. So trying to adopt this new technology, they had questions like, why do we need to use the new technology? I mean, this old way of working has been working for us for all these years, so why do we need to change? So the obstacle came, but then we had to show them the why. What is the benefit in using the application? How does the application make what you're doing much easier, much faster, much efficient? So slowly we started seeing a mindset change in a good number of them. Some of them are not yet there, but I can say to a large number of them have actually seen the benefit of using the application. Then the second question, Maria, you asked about, what was it again?
No, I was just making a reflection that probably in the branches you go back to that initiation stage, no, where you're trying to find that common understanding to a certain extent for the knowledge transfer to follow a similar path.
Yeah, we're a bit lucky on that because National Water is a very big company, so quite a few branch managers are being transferred outside Kampala. And for us, the big benefit here is they're asking, where's my tool, where's my map kit? Because I want to make sure that I'm in control of my assets that I'm managing here. So we actually are now getting demand from outside Kampala to roll out. And I think that really is the way you want to go. If people start to see benefit, we facilitated, of course, also with basically the smartphones that they need to actually get the data. But I think one of the main things I took was that a lot of people are very proud to show what they've been doing. And a lot of plumbers in the field, they're out there, they have to fight to get some materials or to just get anything. And now they have a tool in hand to show what their work is about. They make a picture of their work, they actually record what it does. It's not difficult for them to do. And they have instant recognition for the fact that they've worked there outside. So the relation between the people working in the field and their branch office and our office in GIS it's much quicker and easier, but therefore also better in management. So in the management structure of National Water, that has been a huge benefit. And now slowly but surely, that's why we said bottom up. You can see the top management saying, oh, but this is really working also towards asset investment planning. We now have a database of about a year for Kampala, where we're getting 10,000 records every month, or even more these days, I think, of things that have been adjusted. So we really have an awful lot of data that we can use for investment planning. And that's the next step. That's where we will be going next with using this information system. But that's where I can put other experts in from VEI that just use that data also in an asset management environment in VEI. Without such data, there is nothing to plan with. So we can take the next step next year.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay. Very interesting.
Thanks a lot for this very interesting example. And if there are any more questions, please answer them in the chat and we can still continue the conversation there. For the sake of time, we'll have to move on to the next presentation. So I'd like to give the floor to Zaitouni Ganenje, who is the Low-Income Consumers Manager at Nakuru Water and Sanitation Services Corporation. She's a technical expert on POPOR in Nakuru Country project, where she's supporting 3 water utilities in implementing POPOR strategies with the aim of achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and leaving no one behind. I'm going to share a presentation. Zaitouni, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, very well.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. So this is Zaitouni from Nakuru. As you mentioned, this is. Please go to the first slide. Nakuru. I work for Nakuru Water and Sanitation Company as a full-time employee. However, I'm also seconded to the Waterworks program to support 3 water companies in developing and implementing POPOR strategies. So Nakuru County lies 160 kilometers north. That is from Nairobi. It is in the Rift Valley. Population in Nakuru County is about 2.162 million people, and where majority of the population lives in the informal settlements or what we call the low income areas. That is why from in this WOP there is a lot of focus in service provision in the low income areas. Next slide, please. Yeah, as mentioned, Nawasco, let me talk about Nakuru Water. Nakuru Water started this, entered into the WOP way back in 2012 to date, and there is a plan to go up to 2030. And for the current WOP, we are supporting. We have like now a Propua section was established in Nawasco by VEI way back in 2012. And now that there's been a lot of stages that Nawasco has gone through, and now we are at supporting other utilities to develop and implement Propua strategies. For this specific WOP, we are working with the Nakuru Water, Nakuru Rural, and Nawasco. But in my presentations, you will realize that in the various WOP programs that have been implemented in Nakuru, we have gone beyond just Nakuru County, but also to other counties, whereby we have supported over I think about 20 utilities to establish Propua strategies and implement the same. So the main focus is actually on SDG 6, whereby we are looking at inclusive service delivery for that is leaving no one behind, because of the fact that usually the utilities will focus more on middle and high income areas where they can easily be able to collect revenue, and the people in the low income areas usually are given less. Unfortunately, in my first slide, you noted that more than 50% of the population live in the low income areas. So that is why there've been a lot of need to invest more in the low income areas. So our selected working area is basically for this specific is basically in the low income for the low income customers. However, our WOP program is all round. So this the partnership with Nakuru County started way back in 2012 to date. Next, please. So these are just some of the programs that Nakuru County and VEI has been in partnership, whereby the very first one was way back in 2012, where there was establishment of Propua units or sections. It first started with 2 utilities in Kenya, that was Kisumu Water and Nakuru Water. Then after that, in 20, we had now the PEWAC the PEWAC project, the Partnership for Performance Enhancement of Water Sanitation Utilities in Kenya, which was benchmarking and collective learning. That is, it was under the WASPA, which is the Water Service Providers Associations, where all the water companies in Kenya are partners. Then in 2014 to 2020, we had what we call innovative value chain for unsewered areas in Nakuru. And that is also, when we talk about unsewered, you will realize that most of the unsewered is in the informal settlement. So all these programs, or under these WOPs, since 2012 to date, there've been a lot of focus in service provision to the low income areas. In 2015, in 2020, that was actually the most interesting for me. That was the performance enhancement for water service providers in Kenya, whereby during that WOP period, there was supporting, as per the project period, it was 10 utilities, but by the time the project was coming to an end, we had reached about 20 utilities, whereby had been brought on board to establish Propua strategies and develop, implement, and even have Propua units or sections within their utilities, of which, right by the time the project was ending, we were at about 18. Currently, we are about quite a number of utilities have come on board, and right now we are about 40 utilities are on board on implementing proper initiatives in their respective utilities. And remember, this is when we started with Nakuru and Kisumu, we were the only ones. And right now, between us, about 40 utilities. Then for the current WOP, which began in, I think it was about 2017 to 2021, that is Waterworks.
4 minutes left. So
Waterworks phase 1, whereby we are now supporting working with all the utilities in Nakuru County. Next, please. Yeah, so for this, we would like to say that we are at a ramp up phase, and of course during initiation, there've been a lot of steps, a lot of challenges in all of these steps, all of these stages before we got to where we are now. And as we move on, we'll be able to see that. Next. Yes, during initiation, that is the first focus has been get low-income customers on the agenda of the utility, because, as I mentioned, most of the utilities' focus has been providing water in the low income, in the middle and high income areas where they are able to get revenues for the utilities. And with the interest that this WOP had towards improving services in the low income areas, first we started with creating awareness, just getting to understand where are these low income areas, getting to know where are the pro-poor customers, prioritizing the pro-poor agenda within the utility, changing the mindset of the utility, in that having that focus that yes, all these are our customers, and having the utilities realize that the bigger percentage of the population are in the low-income area. So that means if they are not served, if they are not equally served, that means we are leaving behind more than enough of the population that we are serving. Then convincing the utility to invest in the low-income areas. In most of the in the water companies, there was a belief that in the low-income areas, that is where that is where there is a lot of non-revenue and all that. So there were, and also there was that belief that even if you invested in the poor people, there is no revenue coming back in terms of paying of the water bills, which we have, through this WOP, we've been working towards convincing the utilities towards that. Then through that, there is also mobilization of funds to invest in the low-income areas, because the utilities could not do it on its own because of the limited resources. So we went further to bring partners on board to support in investing in the low-income areas. Then mobilizing capacity, as in investing in people, getting to know what kind of staff do utilities have? Do we have initially most of the staff at the utilities, of course, they were focusing on the technical, that is laying pipes and all that, without considering the social component of it. And of course, in the low-income areas, there is a lot of talking to people, engaging them, getting them to know why it is important for them to have a house connection, and why it is important for them to pay for the services that is provided to them. Next, please. On implementation, that is invest in knowledge and capacity, learning by doing, implementation of the projects. In this learning by doing, as I mentioned, the pro-poor topic was very new when we began to all the utilities. So first that we had a task, first getting to know who you are, and your responsibilities in the utilities was very key. Then knowing the need of the people and their ability and capacity, knowing who your customers are, do they have the capacity to pay for the service provided, and do they have the ability at the same time. Then invest in knowledge, get to know the target group and type of technologies. You notice that in the low income areas, if we get in and provide in-house connection or house connection for each of them, most of them are not in a position to pay like a monthly bill, but they can be able to pay for service as it is provided to them. As you can see on that photo, that is a prepaid water meter, whereby a customer comes with the say 2 shillings for a 20-liter jerrycan, and they can be able to plan for their water, plan their money depending on the amount of resources they have and the amount of water they want to use. Next, please. Yeah, that is developing the strategy policy. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. 1 minute. So we were able to develop proper strategies and implement them in the utilities. Yeah. Next. Yes, sustained funding. We've been able to acquire quite a number of funding to support services in the low-income areas, and with that, we have been doing continuous monitoring of the projects that we implement in the low-income areas. And now we are really scaling up because, like right now, even the interventions that we did, we started with the promoting water kiosk, and now we moved to prepaid meters, and now we are up to promoting social connection, whereby now we are encouraging people to have house connections. Next, please. Next. Yeah, some of the observations is sharing knowledge takes time and never stops because, like for example, for our case, we have been through a very long journey before we got to where we are. And as we move on, as we share, we are also learning quite a lot from other utilities and the mentors. Managing relationship with key water operator has been very key with us. As you could see in my presentation, Nakuru Nakuru began being part of the WOP since 2012 to date, and that is actually why the relationship that has been created over time is actually what has made Nakuru to be where it is right now. And because of this WOP, Nakuru was the second best performing Nakuru Water was the second best performing water utility in Kenya in terms of water and sanitation services as ranked by the regulator. Then managing relationship with the low-income customers and local stakeholders in the low-income areas has also been very key to us. Just getting to know your customers, getting to know their limitations and the needs and what exactly they need from the utility. Then share knowledge with other utilities. Now we are not only for Nakuru Water, but also supporting Nakuru Rural and Naivasha Water and Wasco, ensuring that we are moving together as a county and not just as one utility. Yeah. The proper benchmarking utilities, this was introduced under WASPA, whereby we are now like taking lead in support other utilities on board. As I mentioned, we started utilities. Right now we are with 40 utilities, which we are doing benchmarking with. Then we are also part of one of the COPs, the Community of Practices for the Low-Income Consumer Customers among the different WOP programs. Thank you. Hello.
Anke, we cannot hear you.
Taituni, for your interesting presentation. You have so much experience on this topic with many utilities. It's very interesting to hear from you. I don't see any questions in the chat yet, but I do have a question because you said that what is key, of course, is raising awareness and putting it high on the agenda of the water utilities. This topic. I was wondering, how did you manage to prioritize it at the water utility to put it high on the agenda? Were there some key change agents involved? How did you do this?
Yeah, thank you. We managed to put it as high priority to the utilities agenda because the fact that we were able to map out and get to know that yes, the biggest population in the low-income areas, that made it clear that there is need for the utilities and partners to come in because that means that we were leaving a bigger population behind and not being served fully. And with that, we also got the partners that were on board during that time. When we started the Propua, they was very key in this, and actually just supporting, developing the Propua unit within the utilities, developing the Propua strategies. This really made the utilities to to realize that there is a lot of need for us to invest in proper areas. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Tretuni. Please, any more questions, raise them in the chat so that we can address them at the end or through the chat. Now I'd like to move on to the next and final topic of today, which is non-revenue water. I'd like to give the floor to Reintjan de Bois, who is a project manager at project officer at WOP in the Netherlands, and to Reinder van der Brink, who is program manager in Tanzania since 2018, managing the partnership of WOP and the water and sanitation authorities in Mwanza and Arusha, and to Main Maseki, who is the WOP project office manager in Tanzania, focusing on Mwanza Urban Water Supply and Sanitation Authority. Reintjan, the floor is yours. I'm sorry, I have difficulties hearing you, Reintjan.
It seems to be something with your mic, Reintjan. We can hear you, but not very loud.
All right, I'm trying to speak up. I hope you can hear me well.
No, I don't think your earplugs are working.
Okay. Reinder, but go ahead. Reinder, you can start.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you. So in this session, we like to present about non-revenue water and the knowledge learning. We talk about Mwanza city in Tanzania, where we have a partnership with WOP and Mawasa. Since 2018, we plan to extend for the coming 5 years, and in parallel, we have also an EU WOP in 2 of the satellite towns here, together with Hamburg, Wasser, and Waste. Focus, please click continue to click. Focus is on non-revenue water, GIS, hydraulics, investment planning, sanitation in the satellite towns, leadership. So it's quite a variety. We try to touch those issues which are urgent in within our partner. And I said we like to focus now on non-revenue water. Basically, and you can click to the, yeah. So basically, of course, those stages we all have seen. What we have experienced in non-revenue water is, well, you start initiating. We did data collection. We did a lot of trying to understand the issue, the problem. And by doing so, doing then the implementation, we went back to initiation, because during implementation, we didn't receive the results, we didn't see the results as expected. And I think here, and that's, I think, the key message we like to bring in this presentation, is that the belief system, the values, both organizationally and culturally, do have a big impact also in the whole knowledge sharing process. So that is something both in understanding the problem as well as in the implementation of the solution. So that's what we like to focus on. And the next slide is for Tumain.
Yes, through this knowledge, journey of knowledge sharing, we started with the initiations where we collecting a lot of data on site, and together we analyze it, and we come up with the facts, and we develop a strategical plan, and we identify those root cause of non-revenue. We did the house-to-house survey, and at the end we come, we did a management meeting, we discussing together, and we agree that this can be the possible cause of non-revenue. Also we were getting some experience from the other colleagues from the different regions, so that community of practice, and we at the end we come out with better strategies and planning. Yeah. So that,
Reintjan, in addition, for you to mention about the COP, can you add on it?
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you're hearing me very well. I'm trying to speak up. I'm going to turn off my camera, but maybe you can hear me well now. I hope so. Basically, the COP actually provides not only a masterclass that we're organizing twice yearly for all the WOP teams on the ground, and I think a number of you participated. So we are building on, let's say, existing tools, existing templates, like for an NRW strategy and plan there. So that's great. So we're not reinventing the wheel when starting up. But of course, the root cause analysis is based on assessments on the ground. So I think what we're discovering is that, yes, we're on the one hand, we can build on standardized material, which is there. But of course, once you start applying it on the ground, you have to deal with the realities as they are. And in this case, the unspoken perceptions of the analyzed data appear to result in a differences in perception of what the root causes were. So we will highlight that in a few minutes. Let's continue. And I just wanted to highlight, that's what the COP, which we are, I'm coordinating.
Thanks, Rijntjan. We can go to the next slide.
Okay, after strategize and after strategize and agree together with the utility staff and the management, then we come to implementations. We start with piloting, like we training the staff, the plumbers, on how to on improving of the leak repair, like in terms of speed up and in terms of monitoring, like making the management staff and the lower management staff, the lower staff to be together, like be more of control by top management, and also based on the performance of the plumber. We are also like focusing on those piloting area DMOs to like realize the what to validate the top down assessment of the root cause, and then we were like checking the like is it the same as what we were like strategize and planning at the first like initial stage. And we also do like a lot here. We also like do and redo based on the what we find from the site, and we find that we several times we implement and we find that this is not working, then we go to initial stage, we then strategize, and then we plan, and then we implement again. And I think on stage two, on wrap up, like we were like do a lot of activities like pipe rehabilitations. We did meta testing, but we couldn't able to come with a result. But on June, we managed to like reducing that revenue of the one of the DMO, which we were working with, by like from 50, 60 to 10%, of which we found that 10% of the customer in that DMO like contribute to the 8% of the non-revenue volume. So it was like not like we stick with what we were planned, but we always like reviewing on strategies, and then replanning, and then do again based on the finding from the site. And I think on the we are now on wrap up, but we get a lot of challenge in because of some some external factors and internal factors. Like we have a lot of pressure from political leaders, and also a lot of pressure from social, due to the like the political leader have a lot of influence on the water sector, because like uh, water service is very crucial to the community. And if we find something which like if we like try to do something which can like disturb anyhow on the community regarding water, or any complaint which coming from the community, then you can find that the political leader always standing on the community side. So that we encounter some challenge here, and I think we have some of the ideas, like to do campaign, like giving the community education on how to like taking care of those water service assets. So our takeaway here on like it is we need like to like COP. We realize that COP is very important. Like it is a very useful tools for sharing an idea, like also sharing a document, useful document, which help us to strategize and also plan on the issues that we like want to solve in the utility, but also need some a lot of adjustments so that it can fit in your utility. Also, we realize that like we need like to, apart from like standing on fact and the finding from the like from the sites or from the study, from the pilot areas. Also, we need to incorporate with the like believing system. Like we can find that some of the cultures or of the foundation of the belief from the organizations based on some finding or some issues that arise in the past, and then we find that they have some information, but it is not like written or documented somewhere, so that we should have to incorporate all together, like integrate the facting that we find from the site, and also like those which is not like officially there or documented somewhere. So, and also we need to invest that time also to find the like the point where we come together that bring the fact and also those believing. Also, we need like to adjust also on technical planning to more based on the like leadership growth, like making growth of leadership and also changing management, because that has a big impact. Because if you changing the culture, then you like try to incorporate also with those facts, like because if like one a believing system and the facts or technical or like fact and data, you can find that at the end, if you are laying in one system, then you can find that at the end you can not coming into a common understanding. Also, we require to trust to each other in achieving that sustainable impact, because sometimes this trust, it can come you to uh, like it can the two like two group can come into like not trust to each other because of different system. Someone is believing on fact and someone is believing on on like on those believing systems, and at the end you can find that they are not trusted to each other because they have different belief, like they have different belief on in terms of the organization, like or in terms of the belief in or culture or something like that. Yeah. So I think we end up on this presentation, and we thank you. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting to hear your experience and challenges also in reducing non-revenue water in Tanzania. Are there any questions for now? For the audience, we are extending with about this session with about 10 minutes. This was the final topic we've been discussing, but we have some time for final questions to this last presentation. Yes, I see someone likes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Reinjan, Reinder, and Tumain for explaining the work in non-revenue water and bringing in to the table new elements that had not been discussed in terms of the obstacles that sometimes peer-to-peer face in the partnership as an obstacle to progress on the technical issue, the human factor, the beliefs, common understandings. I would like to ask about the physical presence of a resident project manager in the field as a factor that we can see is not always present in WOPs, but certainly in VEI WOPs is always there. And I would like just to ask you, Reinjan, or Reinder actually, and Tumain, but also in general, an open question for the audience, for the speaker, sorry, to reflect on this aspect. What difference does it make? And of course, it's more expensive, it's more costly, but how is it worthwhile? How did you feel? Well, the resident project managers were not there in the field during COVID, which is a bit of an extraordinary time in that sense. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. Of course, I'm biased here, but yes, what I think is the added value is to make the connection. Like, the cultural differences are big, we all know that, though we don't realize that always. So this week we had team meetings, we had the cultural training from someone who is Tanzanian and who is Dutch, and he was explaining those both cultures. And every time, like, we have something like that, there is something to learn which we didn't realize. We do bring in things we are not aware of, and I believe if we do that from, let's say, suppose we try to coordinate everything from the Netherlands, and then there is a team here, but there is no linking pin to connect both worlds. I believe it's difficult to achieve progress, especially in the initial states, like the first phase of the WOP. I can imagine that after a while, then the connection has been made, and then both sides, we are aware of each other's culture. The start has been done. I can imagine then it's possible, but I personally I do advocate for the presence of a project manager.
I see Martin likes to react to this. Martin, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, I think I concur. I'm actually in and out a lot, so I might not be here full time, but I miss sometimes too much already by not being there full time. And I think that connection that Reiner was talking about, that is what you build up in those first years, understanding where the real gap is in what another organization needs, and also understanding back home who could be of value and doing something in this gap. So making a plan together, that's something you need to be there for, and you need to work together for some time. It always takes a year or 2 years before you get there. But also, whilst you're still going on, you might divert a bit, and you might have more people coming in and out. But if you're not there often enough, in the Dutch we say, I built word niet meer gezien. You won't be heard if you're not seen. So that's something you need to consider. You need to be in the same room together. You need to eat the same food together. You need to be able to have a social chat together, because a social chat from a colleague gives you an understanding of a physical situation that might have a technical implication. And the same might be for a social chat about my children with somebody here who makes to understand, oh, but that's why you are thinking about this thing in your country. It's not strange anymore if you've got broader discussions or broader cooperation. And that only works with quite a lot of availability of your time at that place, becoming part of it. I think that's how we learn how to understand each other.
Yes, I very much recognize this, Martin. I would also like to hear from Dharma, because you're working in a different model where the external partner is not always physically present. Could you react to your experiences?
Thank you, and thank you very much for John and the team about the presentation. It was really informative and very learning as well. Yes, just on the flip side, it's not that the technical support from Anglian Water physically was not possible all the time because of certain like modalities of the project we have here. But the similarity we have got is the whole project team from WaterAid Nepal and also the partner organization is based in Lahan on the same ground. So I think those are the like converging or the parallel points that we have in common, which is making more like in-ground information available at the first hand, and um, at that and the WaterAid taking at that like technical facilitation role among Anglian Water and like the utility over here in Nepal and in specific to Lahan. Yeah.
Thank you. I see Martin likes to react.
Sorry, I was playing with my hand, but now that I have the floor, I am very interested in hearing that, because what I hear in your team, we talk about, we have one person like me or either in country and then bring in short-term experts. And in your experience, you seem to have a team that you are, seeing more often. So you see different people, but the whole team works together with your team. That is a bit different from having a one-on-one and then every now and then somebody else is coming. Do you still have such a relation that you start after a year or 2 years or 3 years, you really understand what you mean, that cultural sort of exchange?
It's a question to Dharma, right? Dharma, could you unmute yourself?
Thank you. Sorry, it was in mute. Thank you. That's really interesting point actually you raised. Definitely, like having those interaction, people coming along, definitely, like it brings us new avenues and also like different perspectives along. And as I just would like to reiterate, as Rinjan has said, like you learn it from the successes, and like you do it with more innovative ideas that come across. So and also the exchange, definitely, like having in person adds a lot of values, apart from working the team together, especially when you are introducing the new technology or new system in place. The in hands, or like the physical presence makes more values, add values. I would like to add that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dharma.
Thank you.
Looking at the time, I think we've come to the end of this session. I think, or at least in my experience, having joined many sessions during this Congress, it was a session including the most speakers. Maybe Maria can confirm. But I'd like to thank all the speakers that are there, because I think it was a very rich group of people, very rich experiences that were shared today. 3 experiences of knowledge transfers, being in the ramp-up phase, and 3 in the integration phase. I think especially this last part is very important and is key, that the knowledge is embedded in the organization, so that the results will still be there after WOP finishes, or when specific activities on this topic are finishing. So that's really key to ensure the embedding the knowledge in the organizations. So I'd like to thank you all, also Giuliana, my co-moderator, for this session, and looking forward to this final day of the Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
What? Already over?
No, we have plenty more options to continue the discussions and peer exchange beyond the Congress.
Tell me more. What are the options?
Well, GWOPA membership, for example. By becoming a member of GWOPA, everyone can connect to a global alliance of practitioners and experts. There are two ways of becoming a member. First, institutional members. Institutions can participate in GWOPA's assemblies and are eligible to run and vote in its international steering committee elections. Or second, individual members. Individuals can connect and engage with peers in the online GWOPA community. We have created a space that allows for networking and easy communication. Meet future WOP partners, stay up to date on project opportunities, and participate in peer-to-peer learning opportunities.
Sounds great. How can I join?
Simply go to www.gwwopa.org and register for free. If you want to know more, you can follow GWOPA on social media and subscribe to the newsletter. Thanks for joining the 4th Global WOPs Congress. We'll see you soon.